wrap up totally, Pete, with Rangers, because we've heard that Jack Butland's been valued at £30 million. What did you make of that and sort of the comments around the fact that every player is potentially up for sale?
Yeah, worrying signs for Rangers, I think, hearing some of those comments from Philippe Clement. I think he's been a bit harsh on Butland, putting that huge price tag on him, because I don't think many clubs will be able to afford Jack Butland at that price. So it obviously shows how much Philippe Clement wants to keep Jack Butland. That's why I think he's put such a high price tag on his head. But I don't think in the market you're going to get anything close to that for Jack Butland as well. Had a very good season at Ibrox last year in his debut season. Sort of got his career back on track in some respects after not playing many games when he had a loan spell at Manchester United, and then obviously it didn't really work out from a Crystal Palace either. So it was good to see that he really got back to his best form at Rangers. He's obviously a key man at the club as well. But yeah, Philippe Clement saying that it would take an astronomical fee like that to lure Jack Butland away, but everybody else was virtually for sale at the right price. Sets alarm bells ringing for me if you're a Rangers supporter or anything else, because obviously money is tight at Ibrox right now. And if offers do come in for the likes of James Tavernier and Connor Goldson, it seems that the club would be willing to let them move on. And we've spoken previously on the pod about it does seem Rangers' new recruitment policy is to sign young players right now with potential. But I think right now for Philippe Clement and Rangers, they need a mixture probably of young talent and experience in there, because the pressure is on Rangers right now to close the gap on Celtic. And I can imagine if Rangers don't get off to a good start in the new season and miss out on Champions League as well, the pressure is going to really ramp up on Clement as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting month and a bit between now and the end of the window to see what Rangers do. But it does look like they need to sell before they can do any buying, and that's not a great sign when Rangers fans are calling out for signings to try and close the gap on Celtic.
Paul, to add on to that as well, we sort of heard Philippe Clement mention about the club's inability to sign players due to funds, really. In terms of going into this window, how much do you think he knew of that? And what are the long-term effects going to be? I mean, Pete kind of hinted in there, if they do struggle, could we see him potentially be up for a potential exit in months to come if they aren't able to sort of close the gap on Celtic?
I think you can read between the lines of these comments, and you can sensationalise them, or you can look over them and say he already knew about this situation when he took over at the club. But from looking at it, I would say that he wasn't aware of the situation, that all the players are for sale. And I think, he puts a £30 million price tag on Jack Butland, which shows the importance of his star goalkeeper. And at Jack Butland's age and coming from, that would be a record, correct me if I'm wrong, but coming out of the Scottish League, that would be a record. And for a goalkeeper to break a transfer record, it's highly unlikely. So for a manager to say that about his players, that he's aware that they're all for sale, but apart from his goalkeeper, and I think if anyone was to test them for a bid with Jack Butland and he was to leave the club, then I think the manager's future could be brought into question. It's clearly a situation he's not happy with, he's not comfortable with. He's going into a new season not knowing what squad he's going to have to deal with, not knowing if there's any transfers coming in. And all of his players are for sale. And if the goalkeeper, he's made a huge point by saying it's 30 million. That's him making a statement by saying, look, okay, I get it. Players are for sale, but you're not selling him. Almost to say, look, if he goes, I'm kind of going. That could be a real statement. And it could be a very, very interesting one to keep an eye on. That if the bid did come in for Jack Butland, I don't think he's happy there, Philippe Clement. I think there's a lot of things coming to the surface that he possibly didn't know about when he took the job. Things have come to light during the course of the season, towards the end of the season, and he's not going to be happy with the way that the transfers are being conducted. That he could potentially lose his best players. But if the Butland one, he almost said it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, didn't he? So never directly said it in those words, but you can read between them.
And Pete, to pick up on that, we know that Abdallah Sima has been heavily linked again. But do you think, given Clement's comments, is it unlikely actually the club are going to be able to afford him? Is there an update around his future at Brighton and a potential return to Ibrox or Hampton Park?
Yeah. Well, obviously he's admitted that at the current price tag that Brighton are asking for Sima, that a deal will not be happening, which will come as a major blow to Clement. Maybe he's coming out in the media saying these things to try and put a bit of pressure on the club to try and back him in the transfer market. But yeah, obviously funds are tight at Rangers. The only way they could do a deal for Seema is if other players are sold and they can bring that money in. So if they do sell the likes of Connor Golson and James Tavernier, that would obviously boost the transfer kitty. They did lose a lot of players as well at the end of their contracts this summer. They lost Barisic, who they probably could have sold a couple of seasons ago for big money. John Lundstrom as well departed. Ryan Jackson. There's a number of key players and key positions that have left, and maybe that's upset Philippe Clement as well. But yeah, not being able to sign Seema would be a huge blow because he had a big impact when he joined Rangers on loan from Brighton as well. Seems unlikely that he will figure in Brighton's long-term plans going forward, but with Clement saying that Rangers can't afford his £7 million asking price, again, as I said, maybe alarm bells are ringing around Ibrox right now as well. And if they were to miss out on the extra revenue of qualifying for the group stage of the Champions League, that would be a huge blow to Rangers' transfer plans between now and the end of the transfer window in August as well. So, yeah, difficult times, I think, for Rangers. And, yeah, obviously, like Paul says, all doesn't seem well between Clement and maybe the board. And when that sort of news gets out there, it does sort of set fans off and everything else. And as I said, I think it's vital that he gets off to a good start this season. Otherwise, the pressure will continue to build on Clement, and who knows, he might be putting pressure on the Rangers board to say, you either back me or sack me. So it's going to be an interesting watch up at Ibrox over the first couple of months of the season.
And to wrap up totally, Paul, it sounds like they're going to be playing at Hampton Park until September at least. I mean, do we expect it to be longer? Could it take longer than that? And to compare it to the Tottenham situation with Wembley, which we have done in previous weeks, are there any bonuses for Rangers fans of playing at Hampton Park?
No, listen, I don't think there's any bonuses. I just think it's the best of a bad job. It's not ideal that they're not in their own stadium. The history of Ibrox, and fans like to have their own seat. You know, we forget that fans buy season tickets, and people have sat in those seats for most of their life. They buy the same seat every single season. So yeah, there will be disrupts. There will be cause upset, but you can understand why they've had to do it. It's probably out of a lot of people's hands at the club. It's not an ideal situation. I think obviously they've put a date in September. If they make that, it's easy to estimate that you're going to be there longer. Put an end date on, put a stop on it at an end point. Tottenham didn't have a problem at Wembley. I think a lot of the fans that actually enjoyed going there. It was a little bit different, obviously because they had this fantastic new stadium being built while they were at Wembley. But for Rangers, it's a little bit different. Fans will be disgruntled because the work that's going on at the stadium should have been done out of season, and it should be completed before the season starts, ready for them to start the season in their own home. It's not ideal. Will it cause? I looked at the capacities. Actually, they're actually very, very similar in capacity. The two stadiums. So as far as getting extra fans there, I think the biggest thing is that softens the blow that it's in Glasgow. You know, they're not having to travel over to Murrayfield to Edinburgh every other week. They are playing a pre-season friendly there against Manchester United. It's not an ideal situation, but it's one that I think everyone will just get their head around and get on with. The sooner they can get back to Ibrox, the better.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.